Starting off this list at our number 10 spot, we have the crystal skulls. The ancient crystal skulls found in Mexico and Central America are a group of pre-Columbian artifacts that are believed to be over 1,000 years old. These skulls are made out of clear or milky quartz and are intricately carved to resemble human skulls. Despite being discovered in the 19th and 20th centuries, their true origin and purpose remains a mystery. According to legend, the crystal skulls were created by the Maya or the Aztecs and are said to possess magical powers that can heal or grant spiritual enlightenment to those who come in contact with them. Some people believe that the crystal skulls are extraterrestrial in origin and that they hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. Many theories have been put forth over the years about the purpose and significance of the crystal skulls. Some researchers believe that they were used for religious or ceremonial purposes, while others speculate that they may have been used for divination, or even as tools for communication with otherworldly beings. Despite decades of research and study, the true origins and purpose of the crystal skulls remain shrouded in mystery. In our number 9 spot today, we have Linear A. Linear A is an undeciphered script used by the Minoan civilization between 1800 and 1450 BCE. The script was first discovered in 1900 by British archaeologist Arthur Evans and was used to write the Minoan language, which is also still largely unknown. Linear A is composed of over 100 different signs, including pictograms and ideograms, but it is believed to be a syllabic script, meaning that each sign represents a syllable or sound. Despite numerous attempts by researchers to decipher the script, its meaning and purpose remains a mystery. The mystery surrounding Linear A is compounded by the fact that the Minoan civilization itself is shrouded in mystery, with little known about its social structure, economy, or religious practices. The decipherment of Linear A could potentially shed light on these enigmatic aspects of Minoan culture, but for now the script remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Tartaria tablets. These are a set of 3 clay tablets discovered in 1961 in Romania, dating back to the Neolithic era around 5300 BCE. The tablets contain a series of symbols that are thought to be the oldest form of writing in Europe. While there is still much debate about the meaning of the symbols and whether they constitute as a true writing system, many researchers believe that they represent a form of proto-writing or proto-cuneiform. The tablets have caused controversy in the archaeological community, with some experts questioning their authenticity and others arguing that they represent a significant discovery that could change our understanding of early human communication. Despite their importance, the Tartaria tablets remain largely shrouded in mystery, and their true meaning and purpose may never be fully understood. In our number 7 spot today, we have the stone spheres from Costa Rica. These ancient stone balls found in Costa Rica are a collection of nearly perfect spherical stones ranging in size from a few centimeters to over 2 meters in diameter. These stone balls were created by the Dequis culture between 700 and 1530 CE, and they were discovered in southern Costa Rica in the 1930s. They have since become an archaeological mystery, with many unanswered questions about their origins, purpose, or how they were made. One of the biggest mysteries surrounding the stone balls is how they were created. The spheres are made of granite and other hard stones, and they were perfectly shaped without the use of any modern tools or technology. Some have suggested that they were made using some sort of unknown technique, or that they were created with the help of extraterrestrial technology. Another mystery surrounding the stone balls is their purpose. Some believe that they were used as part of a game, while others argue that they had a more practical use, such as astronomical observations or as a status symbol. However, no definitive answers have ever been found. The stone balls have also raised questions about the Dequis culture itself. Despite their impressive creations, very little is known about the people and their language and written records, which have not survived. This lack of knowledge has made it difficult to fully understand the significance of the stone balls and their role in the culture. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Piri-Reis map. The Piri-Reis map is a world map created by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri-Reis in 1513. The map is notable for its accurate representation of South America and Antarctica, which were not officially discovered until centuries later. Of course, this means that what has puzzled researchers is the source of his knowledge. One theory is that Piri may have had access to ancient maps that are no longer in existence, such as the Library of Alexandria, which was destroyed in a fire in the 1st century BCE. Others speculate that he may have had contact with extraterrestrial beings who provided him with advanced knowledge of geography and cartography. What makes the Piri Reis map even more mysterious is the presence of features that are not visible in modern maps. For example, the map includes a land bridge between South America and Antarctica, which has been confirmed by modern satellite imagery. However, this land bridge was only discovered by modern science in the 20th century. Another mystery surrounding the Piri Reis map is the presence of a series of markings and symbols that appear to depict astronomical and astrological data. Some researchers believe that these symbols may have been used for navigation or even to track the movement of the stars. Despite decades of research and study, the true source of Piri Reis's knowledge and the purpose of the markings on the map remain a mystery, making it one of the most enigmatic ancient artifacts to this day. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism is an ancient Greek artifact discovered in 1901 by a group of sponge divers off of the coast of the island of Antikythera. The device, which is believed to date back to the 2nd or 1st century BCE, is a very complex mechanism made up of gears and cogs, and it is thought to have been used to predict astronomical events and the cycles of the solar and lunar calendars. What makes this mechanism so mysterious is its advanced technology and the fact that nothing else like it has been discovered from the same time period. The device is believed to have been incredibly sophisticated for its time, and its level of complexity was not achieved again until the development of similar technology during the Renaissance, over 1,000 years later. The mechanism is also mysterious because its purpose and origin are still not fully understood. Despite extensive research and analysis, there is still much that remains unknown about the device, including who built it and how it was used. The Antikythera mechanism remains a fascinating artifact, and it continues to capture the imagination of scientists, historians, and just the general public. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is a very mysterious book that dates back to the 15th century, written in an unknown script and illustrated with strange drawings of plants, animals, and astrological symbols. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a rare book dealer who acquired the book in 1912. What makes the Voynich manuscript so mysterious is the fact that no one has been able to decipher its contents or identify the language it is written in. The strange drawings and symbols have baffled scholars for centuries, and many theories have been proposed as to its purpose and origin. Some believe that the manuscript is a secret code or cipher, while others speculate that it is a lost alchemaic text or an early form of cryptography. Despite extensive efforts to decipher the manuscript, its secrets remain unsolved, and it continues to be a source of fascination and speculation for scholars and enthusiasts alike. The Voynich manuscript is a testament to the enduring power of mystery and intrigue, and it serves as a reminder of the vastness and complexity of human knowledge and understanding. Maybe this book that we have is holding on to some of the most important secrets that have just been lost to time. In our number 3 spot today, we have the works of old men. The works of old men are structures that were first observed from the air by a British pilot in 1927, and they are located near the Azraq Oasis in Jordan. There are hundreds of these wheel-like structures that are over 80 feet wide, some even as large as 200 feet. These huge structures have been dated back so far that they might just be the oldest man-made creations that we have ever found. While this is all amazing, we have absolutely no idea what they are or why they were created. The theories range from things like sun tracking to ceremonies to some sort of spiritual relevance, but we really just aren't sure. While things like this are incredible finds, and it's amazing that some of the first man-made things still exist on our Earth, it is insane how we have no idea what they are or how to use them, and unfortunately, especially because of the fact that it's been thousands and thousands of years, it's most likely that the mysteries surrounding them are totally lost with the past. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Joppa stones. These stones were found by archaeologists in China. There were hundreds of discs made of stone that were found under a ton of dust inside of a cave. The notable thing about these discs is that they resemble phonography records with a hole in the center that leads into a spiral groove. These stones are at least 10,000 years old, and the groove in them is made up of super small hieroglyphics. Here's the kicker though, these hieroglyphics were deciphered and found to have stories of spaceships crashing into mountains. ships. These spaceships were apparently being flown by what was called Droppa. After this discovery, the researcher who found it was ridiculed as people believed it was ridiculous, but years later some Russian researchers asked for a few of the stones to examine. Upon the Russian examination, they found some sort of extraordinary vibration or hum coming from the stones. After this, research on the stones either stopped or has just been hidden from the public. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Indus Valley Script. This is an ancient writing system that was used by the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the earliest known civilizations in the world. The script is believed to have been in use from sometime around 2600 to 1900 BCE, and it is one of the few ancient scripts that has yet to be deciphered. The Indus Valley Script consists of over 400 different symbols, which have been found on seals, pottery, and other artifacts from the civilization. Despite numerous attempts to decipher the script, researchers have been unable to identify the language or meaning behind the symbols. The mysterious nature of the Indus Valley Script has led to much speculation about the civilization that created it. Some researchers believe that the symbols may have been used for religious or ritual purposes, while others suggest that they may have been used for trade or administration. Regardless of their purpose, the symbols remain a fascinating mystery of the ancient world, and their true meaning may never be fully understood.
10, which is dirty thunderstorms. Okay, these things aren't called dirty because they're a bit rude. Now, this thing might look like a portal to hell, but it's actually formed when electrical charges are generated inside a volcanic plume. Rock, ash and ice particles collide and build up static electricity. And if enough static electricity builds up, it comes crashing down and you end up with pictures like the one behind me. Pretty mental. Lightning and volcanoes are a great way to start off this video, but now it's time for our number 9, which is the Christmas Island crabs. Once a day, every year, something very special happens on Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean. No, I'm not talking about Christmas, I'm talking about the red crab migration. Every single year, about 43 million of these migrate across the island to lay their eggs in the ocean. Now, this was all very well and good until humans came along and built their homes and roads in the way, and now they've had to build special crab bridges for all the crabs to walk over. Why did the Christmas Island crab cross the road? To lay its eggs for the next generation. Yeah, I think that only really works with chickens. So let's move on to our number 8, guys, which is ice fumaroles. Now, although these might look like some kind of ice chimneys, they are actually totally natural. They form in Antarctica from volcanoes beneath the ice and snow. The heat from them rises and melts the snow to form a cave, and when the steam continues to rise, it freezes to form these icy towers with steam coming out of them. They can actually reach up to 60 feet in height. Pretty crazy stuff, but we've got a lot more ahead. Number 7 now, guys, which is the sailing stones. This is an amazing phenomenon where stones seem to move by themselves across the floor in places like Death Valley. For hundreds of years, nobody could figure out how these things seem to move by themselves year after year with no evidence of human or animal intervention. Well, after 7 years of research by a team of scientists, it was concluded that under certain weather conditions, enough water and ice can form to float rocks across muddy valleys in a light breeze, leaving the mysterious trails behind them. 7 years they tracked rocks moving across the mud. That's why I love science, doing the job that no one else wants to. From 7 years now to our number 6, we're talking about the reflective salt flats. In southwest Bolivia lies a 4,000 square mile area of salt flats. Now, salt flats are formed when water pools evaporate and leave behind all their salt. This one though is particularly special because when it rains, the miles and miles of salt and water form an incredible mirror that is so big and reflective that governments use it to calibrate their satellites. It literally forms a perfect mirror of the sky and is way more reflective than any ocean. Next time you tell someone to go and take a long hard look in the mirror, tell them to do it in this one. Anyway guys, let's move on to our number 5, which is bioluminescent waves. Okay, this thing is mental. It looks like something made in Photoshop, but I promise you guys, this is totally natural. So what makes these waves glow like this? The answer is tiny microscopic organisms known as phytoplankton. These things are bioluminescent, which means they make their own light by turning chemical energy into light energy. Sometimes these little fellas get caught in ocean currents, brought to the surface and pushed onto beaches, and when that happens, the results can be spectacular. So we're at number 4 already, and I want to show you guys something amazing called columnar basalt. It might sound like a weird sciencey name, but it's actually a really cool phenomena caused by volcanic activity. The most famous example of this is probably the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, and just look at those perfect looking pillars of rock. It looks like humans made them, but they were actually created by molten basalt intruding through chalk beds millions of years ago. Now, personally guys, I prefer the ancient Celtic myth about how these things were formed. Apparently the Giant's Causeway is all that remains of an ancient bridge built by two giants who wanted to fight each other. But we're at number 3 now, and it's time to get all creepy crawly with the spider web blanket. If you thought the thousands of spiders swarming over you only belonged in your nightmares or Harry Potter, then I'm afraid to tell you it's actually a natural phenomenon. Back in 2012, the Australian town of Wagga Wagga was flooded, which forced thousands and thousands of spiders up into plants and trees, where they ended up forming huge webs together that completely blanketed some parts of the town. They stayed on these giant platforms until the water subsided and they could all just return to their home. So next time there's a flood near your house guys, don't worry about the water, you should be worrying about the spiders. But now it's time to move on to our number 2, which is the flowering desert. This event takes place in the Atacama Desert in Chile. It's a very dry place and receives less than 12 millimeters of rain a year, but every 4 or 5 years it gets a higher than average amount of rain, and suddenly the barren wasteland is transformed into a blooming miracle of nature. Countless seeds that lay dormant beneath the surface for all those years suddenly got the rain they needed to burst into life. Over 200 species of flowers appear, which in turn bring lizards, reptiles, birds and animals. Soon though, everything returns to normal with no sign of life until the next heavy rain. I guess that goes to show all good things come to an end, just like this video guys. Let's do a quick recap. We've looked at floods of spiders, we've even looked at rocks that move by themselves, but now it's time for our number 1, which is the Aurora Borealis. Otherwise known as the polar lights, the Aurora Borealis is a fantastic lights display that only occurs in the polar regions of Earth, but can sometimes be seen in more populated areas. They are caused when electrically charged particles from solar wind accelerate along the Earth's magnetic field and collide with gas atoms, causing this spectacular spectacle of light. If you're from Scandinavia, Northern Canada, or even Scotland, you might be able to see this, so go out and look and check it out if you can and tell me about it, because I'm jealous.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Tristan da Cunha. Tristan is a group of volcanic islands that is located in the South Atlantic Oceans, and it is actually the most remote inhabited archipelago in the world. These islands are around 2,787 kilometers off the coast of Cape Town, 2,437 kilometers from St. Helena, and 4,002 kilometers off of the coast of the Falkland Islands. The population is around 258 people, and they do speak English, but they have also invented their own dialects with words that are reflective of their various places of origin, which is super cool. Tristan is a British overseas territory with its own constitution, and its capital is named Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. To get to Tristan, you're going to have to fly to Cape Town at a time where you can jump on one of the few boats that travel to Tristan in a year. This doesn't seem so bad, but just remember that the boat trip is going to take you about 5 or 6 days to get there, so you might want to take a couple extra weeks vacation if this is your post-pandemic vacation. In our number 9 spot today we have the Pitcairn Island. Pitcairn Island is one of the group of 4 islands that make up the Pitcairn Islands. This specific one is the only one of the 4 that is actually inhabited, with a population of 56. All of the residents descend from a group of sailors who committed mutiny on the HMS Bounty in 1789 and the few Tahitian captives they had with them. This island is located in the Pacific Ocean, close to the middle between New Zealand and Peru. This island is open for tourist visits and is said to feature some stunning scenery, but it's not necessarily the easiest place to get to, although as their tourism industry grows, it does get easier. First, you have to get to Tahiti, so if you already live there or live close, you're already one step ahead of the rest of us. Then you have to take a local flight to Mangariva, which only happens about once a week. From there you'll have to take a boat to Rikatia, and from there you used to have to take a boat called Claymore II, which used to only depart once every 3 months, but luckily it's a bit easier now since 2019. The government has been operating the MS Silver Supporter, which sets sail every week. Tourists will stay at what are called homestays, as it is such a great way for visitors to get a feel of the local environment, as well as providing income for the residents of the island. Before I dive into this one guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far. In our number 8 spot today we have Macquarie Island. Okay, this island is cool. Macquarie is located in the southwest Pacific Ocean between New Zealand and Antarctica. Antarctica. The only human inhabitants of this island are the scientists who work at the research base on the island, so depending on the time of year, there's around 20 to 40 people here. But here's where things get really cool. During the breeding season, this island is home to the entire world population of white-chested penguins. That means that there could be around 2 million penguins on the island at one time, greatly outnumbering the humans there. This island has had quite a tumultuous ecological history after the onset of European visits in 1810. The island's fur seals, elephant seals, and penguin populations began to decline since they were being killed for fur and blubber, and of course there was the introduction of rodents from the boats, cats to keep the rodents from eating the human food stores, and rabbits which were brought to breed for food, which threw the entire island ecology totally off balance. It wasn't until very recently that efforts began to restore a more natural ecological balance to the island, and as of 2014, the island was officially declared pest-free after 7 years of strong conservation efforts. This was actually the largest successful island pest eradication program up until that date, which is certainly something to celebrate. Humans caused a major problem, and while it took much too long to fix, I guess the bright side is that it happened at some point. In our number 7 spot today we have Omeaucan. Omeaucan is located in Russia, and if you've heard of it before, there's a chance it might be because it is known as the coldest inhabited place on Earth. This town has a population of around 500 residents who live in an average temperature of around -40 degrees Celsius, although in the summertime the temperature does get to around 0 degrees. The ground is covered in permafrost, which of course makes growing crops an impossibility, so the main source of food is meat and fish. Due to the temperature here, living of course has to look a little different. It's too cold for plumbing pipes, so restrooms are usually outhouses, engines freeze easily, so cars are usually running continuously, and during the shortest days the residents live in darkness for 21 hours a day. Getting to this small town can take quite some time as well. If you're coming from Moscow, you'll have to take a flight to one of the closest towns, which are both still over 900 kilometers away. The road from these cities that leads to the town is called the Road of Bones, which is extremely ominous sounding and probably a road that should not be traveled alone. In our number 6 spot today we have Easter Island. Okay, so most of us have heard of Easter Island before, but did you know that it's one of the most remote places? Remember the Pitcairn Island we talked about before? Well, that island is the closest inhabited place to Easter Island, so clearly they're both pretty difficult to access. The closest continental point to Easter Island is a point in central Chile that is 3,512 kilometers away. Easter Island is of course a huge tourist destination as people come from all over to marvel at the iconic Moai statues that the island is famous for. There is much debate over when the island first became inhabited, with some experts claiming it to be around 800 CE, while others swear it was around 1200 CE, but either way the original inhabitants created an incredible thriving life on the island. The island is currently home to around 3,300 residents, and in 2007 the island was given the constitutional status of a special territory. In our number 5 spot today we have Itorkotomi. This town is located in one of the most remote areas of Greenland and actually requires a helicopter ride from the nearest airport in order to actually get to the town. It was founded quite recently, actually in 1925, by a Danish polar explorer and around 80 Inuit settlers, and is as far as you can get from any other inhabited area in Greenland. Despite this recent settling, based on ruins and other archaeological remains, it became clear that this area was once inhabited sometime in our history by Inuit populations of the past. There's around 450 residents, and the town is known for its wildlife that includes polar bears, muskoxen, and seals. This place can be a popular tourist destination because of the stunning northern lights as well as other natural wonders. Cruise ships also love to stop here, but that can be a little tricky considering 9 months out of the year, sea ice will block any ship from docking. In our number 4 spot today we have the Siwa Oasis. Siwa is an urban oasis between the Katara Depression and the Great Sand Sea in the Western Desert. This oasis is one of Egypt's most isolated settlements, but it is home to around 33,000 people. The residents have developed a unique and isolated desert culture and language called Siwi, but they are also fluent in an Egyptian dialect of Arabic. The oasis isn't necessarily a super popular tourist destination as the closest city is Cairo, and the oasis is around a 5-hour bus ride away and is of course in the middle of the desert, but those who do take the trip certainly aren't disappointed. If visiting, you can enjoy some locally grown dates and olives, which I can only imagine are incredible. You can swim in Cleopatra's Bath, which is a mineral spring, and you can even stay at the Desert Eco Lodge, which is built from mud and salt. Tourism is actually a vital source of income for the oasis, so visitors are definitely welcomed. around. Because of how isolated Siwa is, the culture and traditions of the people who live here really have been preserved, which would make it such an interesting and wonderful place to visit. If I ever get the incredible opportunity of going to Egypt, I think Siwa would be on the top of the list for places to visit. In our number 3 spot today we have La Rinconada. This town is located near the Peruvian Andes, very close to a gold mine, and is actually the highest permanent settlement in the world at 5,100 meters above sea level. Between 2001 and 2009, the population of the town increased greatly because the price of gold rose 235% during that time. Because of the elevation, the town has an alpine tundra climate and an average temperature of around 1 degree Celsius. Many of those who work for the gold mines here work under a pretty horrible condition of working 25 days of the month for no pay, and then 5 days of the month they can work for themselves and they're allowed to take as much ore as they can carry on their shoulders. But there's no guarantee that the ore will have any gold in it, however, and this terrible system is why many of the town's residents live in poverty. The town is a 6-hour bus ride from the nearest city on unpaved roads, and there isn't really a regular bus schedule, which makes it a fairly difficult place to go. In our number 2 spot today we have the Cocos Islands. The Cocos Islands are an Australian external territory located in the Indian Ocean and comprises a small archipelago that is around halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka. The Cocos Islands consist of 2 coral atolls that are made up of 27 different coral islands. Out of these 27 islands, only 2 of them are inhabited, with a population of around 600 in total. Because of the isolation of the islands, the people who live here have really kept their language and religious practices as well as other traditions alive, which is such a great thing. Visitors of course have so much to learn about the inhabitants' traditions, but other than that, tourists can go kite surfing, snorkeling, surfing, and bird watching. One of the islands was actually even voted to have the best beach in Australia. One of the islands does actually have an airport with 1 single runway, and a flight can be taken to the island from the closest city, which is Perth, at 2,700 miles away, but the flights only happen around twice a week. In our number 1 spot today we have Palmerston Island. Palmerston Island is a coral atoll located in the Cook Islands in the Pacific Ocean. Palmerston is a very small islet in a series of small islets that are located on a ring of coral reef that encloses a lagoon. The only one of these islets that is inhabited is one that's named home. The closest island to Palmerston is Rarotonga, which is the capital of the Cook Islands, and it would be about a 2-day sailing trip to make it the 500-kilometer distance. But if you aren't already on that island or planning to stop at both islands, the closest trip would be about an 8-day sail from Tahiti. Since the islet is so small, there of course is no airport, so ships are the only way to get here, and supply ships only visit the inhabited island a few times a year. The reef only allows room for smaller boats to pass through, which makes any kind of larger ship unsafe to pass. The island does see a tropical climate, but it is very exposed to tropical cyclones, which of course would cause a whole bunch of problems.
In our number 10 spot we have the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is a tale of an extraordinary phenomenon where a piece of architecture was built on a slant, accidentally, and it never fell down. The Leaning Tower of Pisa took 200 centuries to complete, starting in the year 1173. Having multiple generations pass on the lowdown of building the structure makes you think that broken telephone may have been the cause for it turning out the way that it did. In any case, over the centuries it continued to slant more and more until 1990, when it was decided that something needed to be done as it was becoming unsafe, leaning 5.5 degrees from the perpendicular. It was blocked off to visitors until it was repaired and the leaning was decreased. In our number 9 spot we have the Paris Catacombs. Established in 1810, the Paris Catacombs became a home to more than 6 million skeletal French heads. I'm not joking. It's quite extraordinary and creepy at the same time. It's an underground ossuary located, of course, in Paris, France, that was built to consolidate Paris's ancient stone quarries. It was made essentially as part of an effort to eliminate the city's overflowing cemeteries. It was largely forgotten about until musicians started holding concerts there, and now it's become quite the tourist attraction. So interesting. I definitely want to visit it at some point in my life. In our number 8 spot we have the island of Snakes. Yeah, I would have thought that this place only existed in my nightmares, but unfortunately it's real. There's an island called Iladakimada Grenji, and this island is infested with poisonous snakes. Yep, it's an island in Brazil that's blocked off to civilians because of how dangerous it is. Only researchers with doctors present are allowed on the island to study the snakes, as some of them are just too dangerous to have anyone go there without a doctor. Why couldn't an island of puppies exist? I know Japan has a cat island, and boy, do I want to go there. Dear creator, why snakes? Just why? Love your bestie. For the restie, Mel. In our number 7 spot, we have the Darvaza Gas Crater. Also known as the Gateway to Hell, the Darvaza Gas Crater is a giant fiery crater that has been burning for more than 40 years. It's located in the Turkmenistan desert, and apparently they say that it's the size of a football field. Okay, so let me get this straight. There is a fiery crater that looks like the gates of hell, hence the nickname, that has been burning for 40 years, and we're not trying to make it stop. Why? I shall never understand this world, but I guess perhaps we don't think that it's not completely unsafe because we don't seem to be trying to stop it. Apparently it was created after a group of Soviet engineers thought that they had stumbled across an undiscovered oil field and began drilling. The ground collapsed and suddenly a fiery crater emerged. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction over the years, and even a Canadian scientist by the name of George Karunas went into the crater to retrieve dirt to examine. Risked being burned to death, all in the name of science. In our number 6 spot, we have Thor's Well. In Cape Perpetua in Oregon, there is a place called Thor's Well, which is a gaping, seemingly bottomless sinkhole. Well, it's not actually bottomless, but it certainly seems that way as it swallows the seawater around it. This place is also known as being the drain pipe of the Pacific. It is a very dangerous natural wonder that scientists believe started out as a sea cave dug out by the waves before the roof eventually collapsed, and this then created an opening at the top and bottom. Scientists theorize that the well is likely only 20 feet deep. It's apparently a very magical sight to see on days that it is high tide, as the waves hit the rocks in a very Little Mermaid singing kind of way. If you don't get that reference, then sorry. The waves hit the rocks violently and funnels into the hole. That would be pretty spectacular to see, even though water scares me and I would probably want to be far away from it. Unless someone held my hand, then I would be fine. Hashtag wimpy kid. In our number 5 spot, we have the Fly Geyser in Nevada. This is a geyser that is located on a private island in Gerlach, Nevada, that apparently is very spectacular to see. It is one of Nevada's coolest attractions to see, in fact. If you don't know what a geyser is, it's a spring that has an intermittent discharge of water ejected turbulently, and with it is steam, as geyser field sites are usually located near an active volcano. The geyser apparently contains thermophilic algae, which thrives in moist, hot environments, and as a result, the rocks become colorful with hues of red and green. In 2016, the Burning Man Project, a non-profit organization, purchased the land that it's on, known as the Fly Ranch, for $6.5 million, and now the public has limited access to it. It must be a special place for them to have done that. In our number 4 spot, we have Lake Natron. The Salt Lake Natron, located in Tasmania, is probably one of my fave things to have existed on this planet. It's a pink lake, y'all. That's pretty cool. I don't know. If I lived close to there, I would be taking pics like all the time. Pink's my fave color, so that's why. How is this lake pink, you ask? Well, it's both a salt and soda lake. Not cream soda, although damn, that sounds delicious. On second thought. The thought of it mixed with salt makes me want to hurl, so never mind. The soda part just means that the lake is heavy on the alkaline side of neutrality. The lake is in the Eurasia region of Tasmania, and it's quite massive at 57 kilometers long and 22 kilometers wide. It's quite shallow though at 3 meters deep. Because of its high alkaline pH, this is not a lake that you want to swim in unless you want to get sick. Ah well, at least it's pretty to look at. In our number 3 spot, we have Pamukkale thermal baths. Pamukkale is a town in Turkey that has thermal baths that are truly the most beautiful. Sparkling teal in color, these pools of water make you remember that the world is a beautiful, magical place. These baths formed as a result of an earthquake, and they are beside some historical cities. Notably, Hierapolis, an ancient Roman spa founded in 190 BC, is right beside these pools, so of course some believe they hold the wisdom and magic from the ancient times. They have also been nicknamed Cleopatra's Pool, as it is said that she swam there once. Damn, I definitely have to put this on my bucket list. In our number 2 spot, we have the River of 5 Colors. In the province of Meta in Colombia, there is a river that is basically a rainbow river, known for its many names: the Cano Cristales, the River of 5 Colors, Liquid Rainbow. This river is truly unlike anything you have ever seen. I know what you might be thinking. How is this possible? How can a river be colorful? Well, this is possible because of a few aquatic plants called fauna and flora that are always there, and they give the water the intense colors. The canyon and river is easy to visit. You just go to Serranía de la Macarena National Park and it's there. Pretty wild. I'm surprised that I have never seen one Insta selfie with this river before. In our number 1 spot, we have the Glowing Cave. There is a cave in New Zealand that's been given the name of the Glowworm Cave because it's full of millions of Arachnocampa luminosa, which is a glowworm species that is only in New Zealand. The glowworms are all seemingly at the top of the cave, just lighting up the cave in a very beautiful way. Did you ever have glow-in-the-dark stars on your ceiling as a kid? Or even still now? Whatever, they're cool. Anyways, I did, and this reminds me of that. Perhaps I wonder if this is where the creators got their inspiration from? Blonde moment. That's the stars, Melissa. Whatever, just love me. This wondrous cave is a part of the Waitomo Caves, and it is easily accessible via a boat ride. They recommend that you go with a tour guide though in order to preserve the cave and to not bother the glowworms.
Number 10. Black Forest in Germany. The Black Forest in Germany is one of the most mysterious places on Earth, and is said to have inspired many tales by the Brothers Grimm, and if you know the originals, then you know it gets pretty dark. It gets its name from a 100-mile stretch of pine trees that are so dense, the sun struggles to reach the forest floor. If you choose to visit, it is recommended that you make sure to spend at least a good few days exploring it. You definitely won't be bored. There are natural hot springs on the northwestern border, which Romans used to take advantage of after long battles. Mark Twain once said that time is easily lost within these woods, saying that, and I quote, "Here you lose track of time in 10 minutes and the world in 20. So if you want to do as the Romans did, be sure to make this an addition to your travel plans, after all this is over. Number 9. Kwangsi Falls. Don't go chasing waterfalls, unless of course it's these ones, because man are they breathtaking. Kwangsi Falls are probably the most beautiful system of waterfalls in the world. Move over, Niagara, we get it, you're really big. The inviting turquoise water pours over limestone platforms and rocks, framed by lush greenery from the surrounding forest. The falls are the stuff dreams are made of, and you may never want to leave. There is also a bear sanctuary nearby that you can visit. Locals recommend visitors try and go as early as possible before the falls get a little crowded. Number 8. The Sea of Stars. This one is actually on my bucket list. I've always wanted to see it, and I've always wanted to go, and it's actually inspired something I'm writing in a book, so cute little fun fact. We all know the Maldives to be a stunning retreat for any couple seeking a romantic honeymoon. The Sea of Stars is one such reason people go, and I can imagine before anyone knew the science behind it, it must have been seen as a kind of beautiful magic. Let's be honest, science is magic in so many ways, so yeah. Imagine having just had dinner and going for a long walk on the beach only to have beautiful blue stars tickle your toes. Well, not stars exactly, but a specific kind of bioluminescent plankton. Stress caused by the movement of the sea and waves leads the plankton to emit light like fireflies. It's one of the rarest events on Earth and can't really be predicted, but Vadho Island in Ra Atoll is the most well-known island where you can see this, so keep an eye out. Number 7. The Chapel de Saint-Michel de Aguilé. Not to be confused with Mont Saint-Michel, this is one of the most spectacular chapels ever built. Perhaps not for its ordnance, but mostly mostly because of where they decided to put it. It looks like the architect was in some kind of contest that involved building chapels in impossible places. The rock formation it sits on looks like a needle, hence the name, which translates to St. Michael on a needle. Though of course there are taller places in the world, this is one of the most mysterious and sacred. It used to be a volcano and rises 279 feet with 268 steps leading to the chapel. Beautiful fresco murals and stained glass await you inside the chapel and is often used as a place of meditation and prayer. The thing that most strikes me about this place is imagining how they would have even constructed it. Like, there's not much room up there for, like, I don't know, an ancient scaffold or something, but apparently the views were worth it, so they figured it out. Kinda like the pyramids. Number 6, the Son Doon Cave, Vietnam. Son Doon is the largest cave in the world and was discovered in 1991 by a man named Ho Khan. The cave was created anywhere between 2 to 5 million years ago by the river that runs through it. The ceiling eventually collapsed, which left fantastic skylights. It is more than 200 meters wide, 150 meters high, 9 kilometers long. You could potentially fit an entire city inside. There's even mini forests. Several treks into the cave have given us tremendous insights into the overall mapping of the cave, and the images are spectacular. Like, it looks like a cave you would find in the middle of the earth, you know, that Jules Verne story. Anyways, if you are a passionate splunker, then I highly recommend checking this place out if you can. But bring friends, you know. Number 5, Mount Roraima. This mountain seriously looks like the perfect battleground for an epic duel face-off between gods. At least that's like what I pictured. Mount Roraima sits on the border of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil. The mountain's semi-flat surface is a result of heavy rainfall all year round. The rain also causes random spectacular waterfalls. Of course, the mountain was known by locals, but Walter Raleigh made his discovery of it in 1596 while he was trying to find the legendary city of El Dorado, but he was unable to climb it. The easiest way up the mountain is by climbing a natural staircase forest trail on the Venezuelan side, but once you get up there, get ready to give your breath away if it wasn't already taken by the trek. The views from the top are absolutely stunning and you feel as if you are floating on a mountain in the sky. Number 4, Lake Hillier, Australia. Pink! It's pink! It's literally a pink lake. Nature got bored of the color blue and was like, make it pink, and so they did. Separated from the Southern Ocean by just a thin strip of sand, Lake Hillier sits in stark contrast to a bright blue ocean surrounding it. It was discovered in 1802 by Matthew Flinders when he led an expedition to the islands. Despite scientific testing, there is no distinct reason as to why the lake is so pink. Even if you pour it in a glass, it will still look pink. It's not just a trick of the light. Studies suggest that due to the saline quality and the presence of a special kind of microalgae, the algae produces carotenoids, which is a pigment found in carrots, so that could be one reason as to why it's a pink color. It measures 600 meters wide and is a remarkable image to fly above, especially in contrast to the blue ocean and the greenery around. Oh, gorgeous. Apparently it's safe to swim in, but it's incredibly hard to reach, but not impossible. So if you do decide to visit, get ready for a trek. Honestly, all these places, get your mountain boots on. Number 3, Salar de Uyuni. This is actually on my bucket list. It's been on my bucket list since I think I was around 10. Salar is the world's largest salt flat and can even be seen from space. Layers of salt lie between sedimentary rock, and it is estimated that around 10 billion tons of salt is there, but more importantly, lithium. You know, the material that powers smartphones, laptops, and tons more? Yeah. 70% of the world's lithium stores lie within Salar, and an entire industry has been devoted to the extraction. But other than the science, why is this place so magical? Well, on a still, calm day, a thin layer of water transforms the entire flat into the world's largest mirror. Ever wanted to feel like you're floating in the sky without jumping out of a plane? Well, this is the place to be. If you ever tire of such a sight, you can also check out the thermal waters to end your day. Number 2, the Waitomo Glowworm Cave, New Zealand. Honestly, New Zealand should just be on this list as, like, you know it exists, but so many otherworldly places exist in New Zealand. No wonder Lord of the Rings and Narnia filmed there. It truly looks like no other place on earth. But the Waitomo Glowworm Cave is something you have to visit at least once in your life. Another one on my list. We talked about the Sea of Stars. This is the Cave of Wonders, filled with bioluminescent glowworms called Arachnocampa luminosa, along with albino ants and giant crickets. It honestly looks like a cave that belongs in James Cameron's Avatar. There are a variety of ways you can explore the caves, either by raft or boat rides. It's definitely on my list. Number 1, Huacachina, Peru. Upon approaching this place, you may think it's a mirage created by the heat of the desert that surrounds it, but I assure you it's real. Huacachina, Peru is literally an oasis in the middle of the desert desert, equipped with nightclubs, restaurants, hotels to boot. It's about 5 hours away from Lima or 15 minutes away from Ica. Besides being famous as the only oasis in a desert, people come here from all over to sandboard. The oasis formed thanks to an underground current that allowed vegetation like palm trees, carob trees, and eucalyptus to grow. But local lore says that the water formed from the tears of a maiden in Takara who lost her true love, an Inca warrior. Then one night, another warrior passed, and fearing being observed, she threw herself into the lake that she had made. She waited there for hours until he passed, and when he finally did, she couldn't leave the lake and had instead transformed into a mermaid. Legend says that every full moon, the woman emerges to cry over her true love once again, filling the lake.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Tsingy National Park. Tsingy National Park is located on the western edge of Madagascar, but today I want to talk about the two large geographical features in the park, which are Big Tsingy and Little Tsingy. Tsingy can be translated into English as roughly where one cannot walk barefoot, and when you see this place, you'll realize this name makes a lot of sense. These rock formations are plateaus that have had deep ruts cut into them by groundwater, which has left them totally unable to be walked on or through. This whole area is incredibly fascinating and is the home to many endemic species because of its unusual geomorphology. Some of these species are found only within extremely small areas within the Tsingys because the summit, slope, and base of one limestone needle will all form entirely different ecosystems, which is truly just unbelievable. The Tsingys are a perfect example of what happens when humans just leave a place alone and let nature and the earth just exist. It would be an amazing place to go and explore, but because of the nature of the limestone needles, we just can't, and that truly is probably for the best. In our number 9 spot today, we have Lake Vostok. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video. It really helps us out, and I appreciate it. Many of us have heard of Atlantis, but have you heard of Lake Vostok? Okay, there's probably no underwater city, so maybe that was an exaggeration, but it's still really cool. This lake is located in Antarctica, and it is so huge, it's one of the largest lakes in the entire world. The lake not only has a large surface area, but it's also really deep, which only adds to the volume of the lake. So here's the thing about it though. It is covered by ice, and not just any ice, but by the East Antarctic ice sheet, which is just the largest ice sheet in the world. This subglacial lake has ice so thick that we don't know a lot about what lies beneath it, and the ice has been there for millions of years. When the first samples of the actual lake water were taken, it did become very apparent that there may be many species in the lake that we know absolutely nothing about. This is like the most lakey lake out there, and it could be hiding who knows how many secrets. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Star Mountains of Papua New Guinea. This massive mountain range is located in Papua New Guinea, and although we of course know about it, much of the area remains completely untouched by humans. This area is thought to be one of the wettest places on the earth, as it sees more than 10,000 millimeters of rain every year. At that point, you wonder why they're still measuring in millimeters, but hey, I'm not a weatherman. Due to the rain and just how torrential the downpour is, there isn't a spot in the entire range that can house a weather station. There was an attempt made to explore the range in 1959 by a man named Jan Sneap, who wanted to try and map out the area, and it was slightly successful, but not without struggle. During the expedition, they had 2 helicopters, but due to the altitudes, one of them ended up crashing, and they were forced to rely on their own manpower from then on. While this of course would suggest that humans have at some point visited the mountain range, as I previously mentioned, there are most definitely areas that remain unvisited by humans, and it's probably for the best if we just leave it that way. In our number 7 spot today, we have Death Road. North Youngest Road has the nickname Death Road, and honestly, when you just look at it, you can totally understand why. This 69-kilometer road is full of hairpin turns, and of course, it's on the side of a mountain. Not to mention the fog, landslides, and the waterfalls. It was so dangerous that until 1994, there were at least 300 drivers a year who were getting killed on this road. This road connects the Amazon rainforest to the capital city, so it was happening often that salespeople would cram into trucks or buses filled with their woods and crops in order to try and sell them. The issue, however, was that the sharp turns were not wide enough for these larger vehicles, which would, of course, lead to them falling off the edge of the cliff, which was always fatal. There have certainly been steps taken to make the road slightly more safe for tourists, but it still remains one of the most dangerous places in the world. It is such a shame though, because it looks absolutely beautiful. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Sakha Republic. Russia is the largest country in the world, but there is an area in it called the Sakha Republic, which is the 8th largest territory in the world, and it remains mostly untouched by humans. Like, this area is so large, it's only slightly smaller than India. The majority of this territory is above the Arctic Circle, making it basically like a desert, except for exactly the opposite. It's the freezing cold kind. There is so little of a population in this area that if all the residents were spread out, there would be more than a square mile in between each person. But here's the thing, you can't really live in most of this region. I mean, you can, but not without extreme difficulty. The ground is covered by permafrost, which of course has a huge impact on the ecology of the region. The Verkhoyansk range is located within this region, and that range is known as the coldest area in the northern hemisphere. Because of the extreme weather, much of the region has gone unexplored and untouched by man. And honestly, I can completely understand why. Would you want to go there? In our number 5 spot today, we have the Siwa Oasis. Siwa is an urban oasis between the Qattara Depression and the Great Sand Sea in the Western Desert. This oasis is one of Egypt's most isolated settlements, but it is the home to around 33,000 people. The residents have developed a unique and isolated desert culture and language called Siwi, but they are also fluent in the Egyptian dialect of Arabic. The oasis isn't necessarily a super popular tourist destination, as the closest city is Cairo, and the oasis is around a 5-hour bus ride away and is of course in the middle of the desert, but those who do take the trip certainly aren't disappointed. If visiting, you can enjoy some locally grown dates and olives, which I can only imagine are incredible. You can swim in Cleopatra's Bath, which is a mineral spring, and you can even stay at the Desert Eco Lodge, which is built from mud and salt. Tourism is actually a vital source of income for the oasis, so visitors are welcomed. Because of how isolated Siwa is, the culture and the traditions of the people who live here really have been preserved, which would make it such an interesting and wonderful place to visit. If I ever get the incredible opportunity of going to Egypt, I think Siwa would be on the top of my list for places to visit. In our number 4 spot today, we have Itorkotamim. This town is located in one of the most remote areas of Greenland and actually requires a helicopter ride from the nearest airport in order to actually get to the town. Its modern discovery came quite recently, actually, in 1925 by a Danish polar explorer and around 80 Inuit settlers, and it is about as far as you can get from any other inhabited area in Greenland. Despite this recent settling, based on ruins and other archaeological remains, it became clear that this area was once inhabited sometime in our history by Inuit populations of the past. There's around 450 residents now, and the town is known for its wildlife that includes polar bears, musk oxen, and seals. This place can be a popular tourist destination because of the stunning northern lights as well as all of the other natural wonders. Cruise ships also love to stop here, but that can be a little tricky considering 9 months out of the year sea ice will block any ship from docking. In our number 3 spot today, we have Cape Melville. Cape Melville is located in Australia, and it is the home to one of the lost worlds here on Earth. It truly wasn't discovered until recently, and that is due to the surrounding wall of granite boulders that are hundreds of feet tall. But inside this stone wall is an amazing, mysterious, and uncharted rainforest, which is just the coolest thing. Because of the more recent discovery and the lack of exploration, this area has been preserved in its natural state, which is something that's not easily found on our super populated planet. This place is only accessible by helicopter and has only seen one major scientific exploration, but on this one adventure, at least 3 new species were found. I'm sure there will be further research of the area to learn about all of the endemic species that live here and to study how they evolved to fit in this interesting ecosystem. The Earth really is just so cool. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Son Doong Cave. This cave is located in Vietnam and it is the largest cave in the world. The name means the river mountain cave and it was created somewhere between 2 to 5 million years ago from river water eroding away the limestone. In some areas of the cave, the ceiling collapsed, which has created these insanely cool skylights. These areas have allowed many plants and trees to grow, and it has definitely increased the vegetation in a cave. The cave is around 9 kilometers long and it is the home to the tallest known stalagmites in the world, with these mineral deposits getting up to around 70 meters tall. There was a plan to install a cable car through the cave to create a tourist attraction, but thankfully those plans were cancelled due to the potential harm that it would cause the environment, which I personally think most of us can agree was for the best. In our number 1 spot today, we have Mount Bosavi. This mountain is located in the Southern Highlands province of Papua New Guinea, but it is actually the collapsed cone of an extinct volcano. I didn't know that volcanoes could be extinct. This volcano actually collapsed to create a crater that is around 4 kilometers wide and 1 kilometer deep. There isn't a ton that is known about this area, but in 2009 an international team of scientists went down there on an expedition that was entirely filmed by the BBC Natural History Unit. It is believed that this crater was created around 200,000 years ago, and during the crew's time researching the area, there were 40 new species that were uncovered as the crater has its very own fascinating isolated ecosystem. Who knows what more may be down there just waiting for us to uncover.
So let's jump into this, guys, with our number 10, and we're going to be talking about probably the most famous canyon of all, although there aren't many canyons that I know about other than this one. It's the Grand Canyon. Located in Arizona, USA, the Grand Canyon is a natural gorge that runs for 277 miles and is about 6,000 feet deep and 10 miles across on average. The canyon itself is thought to have existed for 70 million years, but the Colorado River that's been carving into the bedrock there has only been doing so for about 6 million years. The amazing layers of rock that can be seen are a truly breathtaking sight to see and draw around 5 million tourists a year. But geologists love it even more, as each layer there is a different chapter for them in the Earth's history. The rock at the bottom is around 2 billion years old, and the rock at the top is 230 million years old. In English, it's obviously called the Grand Canyon, which you can see why. It's a pretty grand spectacle to see, but in the Native American language there, it's called Kaibab, which quite literally means mountain turned upside down, which I think is just awesome. On to number 9, and we've got the Taj Mahal in India. There's no doubt about it that this is one of the most exquisite buildings ever made. A lot of people recognize this totally symmetrical building, but some people aren't aware of its purpose and origins. Standing at 561 feet and made of white marble, the Taj Mahal is a mausoleum that was commissioned by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan to be the final resting place for his third wife, Mumtaz Mahal, after her death. Construction started in 1632 and was completed around 1653 after roughly 20 years of work. It took more than 20,000 skilled workers and architects to design and construct the entire complex, which includes a large garden, a reflecting pool, a mosque, and other mausoleums. I've always wanted to go to India and visit the Taj Mahal myself. Have any of you guys watching this already been? Do any of you guys want to go in the future? Do you want to go with me? Probably not. Alright, let's just move on to our number 8, and we've got the Northern Lights and the Southern Lights, also known as the Aurora Borealis. It's quite simply the most incredible natural light display in the world. The science behind it is that when solar winds from the sun react with the Earth's magnetosphere, particles are thrust into the upper atmosphere and emit light as they lose their energy. The results of this are spectacular, but can only be seen near the Earth's magnetic poles. Places like Norway and the north of Canada are known for being the safest bet if you want to check out these northern lights. Although there are other good places like Iceland. Landon actually recently went there and saw the northern lights himself, although he said he had to wait out in the cold for hours and hours, but when he finally did, it was all worth it. Alright folks, for our number 7 now, we're going over to South America to talk about Machu Picchu. Hidden in the rocky Andes Mountains in Peru lies Machu Picchu, an abandoned Inca settlement that remained a secret to all but a few people until it was rediscovered in 1911 by American archaeologist Hiram Bingham. It sits about 18,000 feet above sea level and and was thought to be a religious site constructed by the Inca Empire sometime in the 15th century. It was abandoned in the 16th century after the Spanish conquest of the Incas and left in ruin to be reclaimed by the surrounding jungle. At its peak though, Machu Picchu would have been one of the most incredible sites in the world, consisting of 200 different Inca buildings split into farming, housing and religious areas. I know quite a few people who have actually visited this site themselves, and I have to say I'm extremely jealous. I tend to love anything that's about history or mystery or beautiful landscapes, and if you want all three of those, you can't really beat Machu Picchu. Coming in at number 6, we've got Mount Everest, also known in Nepal and Tibet as Sagar Math or Chomolungma respectively. Mount Everest is Earth's highest mountain. It continues to captivate scientists and tourists all over the world, especially climbers, many of whom see climbing Everest as the literal pinnacle of their careers. Its peak is 29,029 feet above sea level, and it was formed about 16 million years ago when the Indian landmass collided with Asia. Although humans love Mount Everest, it doesn't seem to love humans. Temperatures there can reach as cold as minus 60 degrees with winds of 200 miles an hour. It was reported in January 2016 that the total death toll for Everest climbers has reached 275 people. Sometimes guys, the most beautiful things in the world can also be the most deadly. It's this strange attraction that humans have to the things that can hurt us the most. We're kind of weird. Also, before anyone says in the comments, I know that there are other mountains in the world that are taller from base to summit, but Mount Everest is still the highest point above sea level. Just want to clear that up. And now we're going to move on to our number 5, and we're going to go over to sunny Brazil and see Christ the Redeemer. This statue of Jesus Christ is arguably the most prominent landmark in the city of Rio de Janeiro. It was completed in 1931, stands at 98 feet tall, and is made of reinforced concrete that brings its total weight to about 635 tons. In 2007, it was voted into the new 7 Wonders of the World by members of the public around the world in a poll organised by the New 7 Wonders Foundation. Although the statue is visible from most parts of the city, 1.8 million visitors make the journey up to the peak on which it sits to be up close and personal with it. Since 2002, there have been escalators that will carry you up to the statue, but before that, you had to climb 220 steps to get to it. So now guys, if you're ever in Rio de Janeiro and you're a lazy person, you've got no excuse not to go and see it. On to number 4, and we're taking a dive to see the Great Barrier Reef. It's the largest collection of coral reef in the world, an underwater ecosystem built by colonies of tiny marine animals. The Great Barrier Reef is the most spectacular example of this natural phenomenon in the world. It's made up of 900 separate reefs and 900 islands that stretch for over 1,600 miles along the Australian coast, and the whole thing is quite literally alive. It's the world's largest structure of living entities, and it's so big that it can actually be seen from space. Although the reef itself is made up of billions of tiny coral polyps, it's home to an astounding amount of other species as well, including 1,500 species of fish, 134 species of sharks and rays, as well as 30 species of marine mammals, who all depend on its existence for their survival. Before I made this video for you guys, I found out that you can actually visit the Great Barrier Reef on Google Maps. I was just sitting there scrolling along, exploring the reef with all the fish. It's crazy because there's actually some roads near my home back in England that haven't been put on Google Maps yet. So what's that all about? Coming in at number 3 now, we've got the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, Turkey. The name means holy wisdom, and it's no surprise as this building has been revered as an important religious site for almost 1,500 years. It first served as an Orthodox cathedral, and then was converted into a Catholic one, and then became an Islamic mosque for almost 500 years from 1453 to 1931. It's now a museum and still attracts over 3.5 million visitors every year, with people who just stand in awe of its majestic mosaic covered walls and dome, which rises over 180 feet off the ground, supported by immense arches that have somehow resisted the area's earthquakes for over 1,000 years. In previous years, it's always been left out of the top 7 wonders of the world, and it's often just called the 8th wonder of the world, but here at Most Amazing Top 10, we go all the way up to 10, so we're not going to leave it out. Come on in, Hagia Sophia, there's more than enough room for you. At number 2, we've got the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall is the longest wall on the planet and is the biggest piece of ancient architecture in existence. Its oldest parts are 2,000 2,300 years old, and its official length stands at an astounding 13,170.7 miles long. Its initial construction was ordered by Qin Shi Huangdi during the Qin dynasty, which connected and extended existing walls. Chinese armies were then stationed along the wall to protect against an invasion of the Huns. They even had a signal fire system like the one in Lord of the Rings to alert everyone on the wall if there was ever an attack. Since then, the wall was built upon and enhanced by many people over the centuries until 1644, when the Ming dynasty was overthrown. Today, the Great Wall attracts over 10 million visitors a year who walk along this piece of living history that had stood the test of time. And it's not visible from the moon, but it is visible from the Earth's orbit. Bonus fact. Well folks, we've almost reached the end of the video, and if you're still waiting for me to say Disney World, I'm afraid it just missed out, because our number one is the Great Pyramid. The largest of the Giza pyramids, the Great Pyramid has been a true wonder of the world for over 4,500 years since its creation. Its purpose is believed to be a tomb for the 4th dynasty Egyptian pharaoh Khufu. It took 20 years to make, and the numbers alone are simply staggering. Roughly 2.3 million stone blocks were used in its construction, each weighing between 2 to 30 tons. The precision involved in its design, construction, and dimensions still baffle historians to this day. It was the tallest building in the world for 3,800 years, and the area it takes up is impressive too. You could fit 10 football fields inside of it. I was always taught growing up that it was created by slaves, but apparently recent evidence has shown that that isn't true, and that it was actually made by a skilled workforce which at its peak would have numbered 40,000 people all building that pyramid. Crazy. It probably involved a lot of back-breaking work, but if they could see the results today, I'm sure they'd be pretty proud of it, especially if they knew it made the number one spot in our video. Just saying.